chosen one. This is not just another moment passing on the calendar, and something deep within you already knows that. This week carries a different weight, a different atmosphere, a different signal that cannot be explained by logic alone. It has been marked long before you ever arrived here, written into a divine schedule that does not rush and does not miss. Nothing about what is unfolding now is accidental, and nothing about you being here to receive it is random. You are standing in a window that was prepared in silence, shaped through seasons of waiting endurance and unseen faithfulness. While others moved loudly, you remained steady. While others demanded proof, you continued to believe, and that is why this moment recognizes you. What is releasing now was not triggered by effort or force, but by alignment and timing, finally meeting at the exact point they were always meant to. This is the week where balances are corrected, where what was delayed finds its way back to you, where doors that seemed sealed without explanation begin to open without resistance. The silence you endured was never absence, it was preparation, and the pressure you survived was shaping capacity. Now the atmosphere itself is responding because something has shifted in the unseen, and it is moving toward manifestation. Stay present, stay open, stay until the end, because there is power in completion, and there is activation in agreement. This is not hype, this is confirmation, and you are not late. You are right on time. And as you move deeper into the awareness of this moment, you begin to understand why this week does not behave like the others, and why your spirit has been sensing a shift long before your circumstances could explain it. There is a divine rhythm moving now, one that does not answer to human timelines or external noise, but responds to faithfulness, consistency, and inner alignment. This is not a surge that comes from excitement. It is a current that flows from order and intention, and it is steady because it has been building for a long time. What you are experiencing now is the visible edge of something that has been forming quietly behind the scenes, layer by layer, moment by moment, decision by decision. Every season where you showed up without applause, every time you chose integrity over convenience, every moment you stayed when leaving would have been easier contributed to this exact release. Heaven does not rush, but it never forgets. And what feels sudden now is only sudden because you were not allowed to see the preparation. The reason this week is different is because it marks the transition from accumulation to distribution, from testing to trust, from planting to harvesting. There was a ledger being filled while you were being refined, and the filling of that ledger did not depend on how fast things moved around you, but on how deeply you remained rooted within. Many times you wondered if your efforts mattered because there was no immediate feedback, no confirmation, no visible return. But the divine economy does not operate on instant gratification. It operates on precision. It measures weight, not noise, substance, not speed. And that is why those who endure quietly often receive loudly later. This is not about being better than others. It is about being consistent when no one was watching. And that consistency creates a resonance that cannot be ignored forever. The delays you experienced were not denials. They were safeguards, ensuring that when the release came, it would land on stable ground. You were being strengthened, not stalled, expanded, not excluded, aligned, not overlooked. What felt like isolation was actually insulation, protecting what was forming within you from interference, distraction, and dilution. When certain connections faded, when certain doors closed, when certain paths became unavailable, it was not punishment, it was positioning. There are weights that cannot be carried in crowded spaces, and blessings that require clarity to be sustained. This week arrives as proof that nothing was wasted, not the tears, not the confusion, not the nights you questioned your own understanding. All of it was integrated into a process that shaped capacity and discernment. Now that capacity is being met with opportunity, and discernment is being met with access. The spiritual books are being balanced not as a reward system, but as a natural response to alignment. Energy returns to its source multiplied, and what you gave in patience, faith, and perseverance is returning in forms that match your growth. You are not receiving what you asked for back then. You are receiving what you are ready for now. That is why it feels bigger, deeper, more encompassing than you imagined. This week carries a different frequency because it is not reacting to your current effort, but responding to your accumulated truth. It is responding to who you became when nothing was certain, when outcomes were unclear, and when belief was the only anchor you had. There is a quiet authority that emerges from surviving those seasons, and that authority is recognized across unseen systems. You may notice things starting to move without you pushing conversations, aligning, invitations, appearing, solutions, presenting themselves with ease that feels unfamiliar. This is not coincidence. This is coherence. Things are responding because resistance is no longer necessary. You are no longer proving you are positioning, and that changes everything. The reason this week stands apart is because it represents a turning of cycles, a shift from internal preparation to external confirmation. What was once happening within is now echoing outward, and the environment is adjusting to meet you at the level you quietly reached. You are not stepping into something foreign. You are stepping into something familiar that you carried internally long before it arrived externally. The peace you feel even without full evidence is the signal that alignment has occurred. In this phase, effort gives way to flow, not because effort was wrong, but because it has done its work. You are now moving in response, rather than reaction, receiving, rather than chasing, allowing, rather than forcing. This is the difference, and this is why this week cannot be compared to others. It is not louder, it is clearer. It is not chaotic, it is precise. It is not rushed, it is resolved. The divine current moving now carries memory. It remembers every seed planted, every stand taken, every moment you chose depth over display, and it is honoring that record with intentional release. You are not late to this moment, and you did not miss anything. Everything arrived when you were ready to recognize it and hold it without losing yourself. This is why what comes now will stay, because it is landing on maturity, not desperation on clarity, not confusion on identity, not insecurity. The systems that once ignored you are now recalibrating because value eventually demands acknowledgement. You did not need to announce yourself because substance announces itself over time. This week is simply the point where time and substance intersect, and what has been building finally becomes visible. Stay grounded, stay aware, stay receptive, because what unfolds now does not require strain. It requires presence. The more you remain centered, the more clearly you will see how intentionally everything aligns. This is not a random surge, it is a scheduled response, and you are standing exactly where you need to be to receive it. And as the nature of what is being released becomes clearer, you begin to realize that this payment was never meant to be limited to numbers or material gain, because what is unfolding now operates on a much wider spectrum and touches layers of your life that money alone could never reach. This is where understanding deepens and perception widens, because the release you are stepping into carries restoration before it carries reward, and alignment before it carries elevation. What is arriving now is designed to put things back into their rightful place, not just around you, but within you. The divine economy does not simply compensate loss, it restores order, and order creates flow. This is why what comes now feels clean, intentional, and steady rather than chaotic or overwhelming. It is not dropping into your life to disrupt it, but to stabilize it and expand it from a place of coherence. You are not being handed something fragile. You are being entrusted with something structured, something that matches the maturity you developed when things were uncertain. This is not about sudden luck. It is about calibrated return, where every piece fits, because you have grown into the version of yourself that can hold it without distortion. The opportunities appearing now are not random. They are precise, and they carry context, memory, and purpose. They align with who you are now, not who you were when you first hoped for change. That is why some of what arrives may look different than what you originally imagined, yet it will feel more accurate, more resonant, more sustainable. Restoration often comes disguised as redirection, and elevation often arrives quietly before it becomes visible. You may notice that along with new doors, there is also a deepening sense of clarity about what no longer belongs. This is intentional because alignment requires both addition and subtraction. What is being restored is not only what was taken, but what was interrupted, delayed, or misaligned along the way. Conversations that never happened now find their moment. Ideas that lost momentum regain breath, and connections that seemed lost return in healthier forms or are replaced with ones that match your current frequency. This is restoration at work, not turning back time but integrating time so nothing is wasted. The elevation that follows is not about status or validation, it is about position, and positioning changes perspective. From where you stand now, you see differently, you decide differently, and you move differently because your internal reference point has shifted. This is why the payment cannot be reduced to money alone, because money without insight would only repeat old patterns, but insight with provision creates new pathways. The divine intelligence embedded in this release ensures that what you receive enhances discernment rather than dulling it. You are becoming more selective, more intentional, more grounded, not because you are closing off, but because you are honoring your capacity. This elevation does not separate you from others, it clarifies your role among them. You are no longer trying to be understood, you are choosing to be aligned, and that alignment attracts the right recognition without force. The nature of this payment is such that it restores trust in yourself first, which then reflects outward in how others engage with you. Confidence returns not as bravado, but as calm certainty, and that certainty becomes magnetic. People feel it in how you speak, how you pause, how you decide. The world responds differently when you are anchored, and this is part of the restoration, because you were never meant to move through life doubting your place or second-guessing your worth. What was withheld before often served to teach restraint and focus, and now that those lessons have integrated the flow, can resume without overwhelming you. You may find that even challenges are met with more ease now, not because they disappear, but because your response has evolved. Elevation does not remove complexity. It equips you to navigate it with grace. This is why the release feels layered, unfolding in stages rather than all at once, because integration matters as much as acquisition. Each new level arrives with the wisdom to steward it, and stewardship is the true marker of readiness. The alignment happening now extends beyond your personal gain and into the broader impact of your presence. You are being positioned to influence environments simply by being yourself, and that influence is subtle but powerful. It shifts conversations, opens minds, and creates space for others to rise without you having to push. This is elevation rooted in service, not sacrifice, and in clarity, not striving. The payment you are receiving restores your sense of timing, as well teaching you when to move and when to wait without anxiety. You trust the flow because you understand it now, not intellectually, but experientially. The alignment you feel is not fleeting. It is the result of accumulated adjustments, small choices made over time that gradually brought you into resonance with what was meant for you. This is why what comes now feels natural, even if it is new, because it matches the internal landscape you cultivated. The restoration also reaches into areas you may not have consciously connected to, reward such as peace of mind, emotional steadiness, and creative vitality. These are not side effects. They are central components, because without them, no external gain would hold meaning. The elevation you are experiencing lifts the weight of comparison and replaces it with appreciation for your own path. You no longer measure progress against others because you understand the uniqueness of your timing and the precision of your process. This understanding frees energy that was once spent on doubt and redirects it toward expression and contribution. As alignment deepens, you may notice synchronicities increasing not as signs to chase, but as confirmations that you are moving in step with something larger. These moments reinforce trust and encourage presence, keeping you grounded as momentum builds. The payment is teaching you to receive without guilt and to expand without apology, because what you are stepping into was prepared with you in mind. There is no need to shrink or rush or over-explain. Elevation simplifies rather than complicates, and restoration brings coherence rather than excess. You are learning that abundance does not mean accumulation, but circulation, and what flows through you does so because you are clear enough to direct it well. This is why the nature of this payment feels purposeful. It comes with direction, embedded, not imposed. You know where to invest your time, energy, and resources because your priorities have been refined. The alignment you feel now is self-reinforcing. The more you honor it, the more it strengthens, and the more it attracts what belongs. This is the depth of what is being released, not a single event, but a sustained state where restoration and elevation work together to support ongoing growth. You are not being lifted away from reality. You are being lifted into a truer version of it, where effort and ease coexist, and where success and peace are no longer opposites. The payment marks a transition into living from alignment rather than toward it, and that is the most valuable return of all. And as this release completes its movement and settles into your life, the shift naturally carries you forward into what comes next, not as an ending, but as an expansion, where authority replaces waiting, and legacy begins to take shape through intentional action and embodied wisdom. This is where the journey evolves from receiving to walking, and from walking to leading without force, without performance, and without the need for validation. What unfolds now is not about proving anything to the world, but about honoring what has already been proven within you. You move differently because you know differently, and that knowing changes how you occupy space, how you speak, how you decide, and how you rest. Authority in this sense is not dominance, it is alignment made visible. It is the calm confidence that comes from knowing your position and respecting your timing. You are no longer reacting to pressure. You are responding to purpose, and that response carries weight because it is grounded. The legacy forming now is not built in haste. It is constructed through consistency and clarity, and that clarity has been forged through experience, not theory. You understand what matters because you have lived without it, and you understand what lasts because you have seen what fades. This awareness guides your choices and ensures that what you build now is sustainable, not just impressive. The authority you carry is quiet but unmistakable, and it does not announce itself. It reveals itself through outcomes, through stability, through the way others feel seen and supported in your presence. You are no longer chasing impact, you are embodying it, and embodiment is what creates ripple effects that extend beyond your immediate reach. The legacy emerging is not confined to material inheritance. It is carried in values, in standards, and in the environments you help shape. People around you will sense the difference, not because you explain it, but because it is felt in your boundaries, your generosity, and your discernment. You know when to say yes because it aligns, and you know when to say no because it protects what matters. This discernment is part of the authority you have grown into, and it ensures that your energy is invested where it can multiply rather than dissipate. The movement from waiting to walking is marked by ease, not because challenges disappear, but because resistance no longer defines your experience. You have learned how to move with complexity without being consumed by it, and this skill allows you to navigate growth with grace. The legacy you are building includes how you handle pressure, how you treat others when things go well, and how you remain grounded when recognition arrives. These moments shape perception, and perception shapes influence. You are now influencing not by position, but by presence. And presence is the most durable form of authority. As you walk forward, you may notice that opportunities begin to come to you, rather than you seeking them out. This is a natural response to alignment, because clarity attracts collaboration, and steadiness invites trust. The relationships forming now are different. They are less transactional and more resonant, because they are based on shared values rather than shared needs. This shift allows you to co-create rather than compete, and to build networks that support longevity rather than short-term gain. The legacy you are stepping into is collaborative, not isolated, and it thrives on mutual respect and shared vision. Authority in this phase also means knowing when to step back, allowing others to rise and trusting the process enough to not control every outcome. This trust does not come from naivety. It comes from experience and from seeing how alignment consistently produces results. You understand that your role is not to manage everything, but to steward what has been entrusted to you with integrity. Stewardship becomes the foundation of your legacy because it ensures that what you build continues to serve beyond your immediate involvement. You are thinking generationally now, even if unconsciously considering how decisions made today will echo tomorrow. This perspective shifts priorities and encourages investment in things that outlast trends. The authority you carry also brings responsibility, not as burden, but as purpose. You are aware that your actions set examples and that your presence can either elevate or diminish a space. This awareness sharpens your choices and encourages mindfulness in how you engage. You are no longer moving through life on autopilot. You are moving with intention, and that intention infuses meaning into even the smallest actions. The legacy you are creating is not about perfection. It is about authenticity and adaptability. You allow yourself to learn to adjust and to evolve because you understand that growth is ongoing. This openness keeps you connected to your humanity and prevents rigidity. Authority that remains flexible stays relevant, and legacy that adapts remains alive. As you continue forward, you may notice moments where the past feels distant, not because it is forgotten, but because it has been integrated. You carry the lessons without carrying the weight, and this integration frees energy for creativity and innovation. The future begins to feel expansive rather than intimidating because you trust your ability to navigate it. This trust is earned, and it becomes a cornerstone of your authority. You are not waiting for permission anymore because you have given yourself approval rooted in alignment. This self-authorization does not isolate you. It empowers you to engage more fully and more generously. The legacy you build includes how you empower others to find their own alignment without imposing your path. You lead by example, showing what is possible when patience meets persistence and when clarity meets courage. The authority you embody invites others to rise rather than shrink, and this invitation creates environments where growth is shared. This is how legacy multiplies through influence rather than control. As the journey continues, you remain aware that authority and humility are not opposites, but partners. Humility keeps you teachable, and authority keeps you decisive. Together, they create a balance that supports sustainable impact. You honor where you came from without being defined by it, and you honor where you are going without rushing toward it. This balance allows you to enjoy the present moment while building for the future. The legacy you are crafting is not a destination. It is a process that unfolds through daily choices aligned with your values. Each step reinforces your authority, and each decision contributes to a story that others will learn from, even if they never know all the details. You understand now that walking in authority does not mean being seen everywhere. It means being effective where it matters. This understanding guides you to focus your energy wisely and to measure success by depth rather than breadth. The legacy that results is resilient, adaptable, and meaningful because it is rooted in truth rather than image. As you move forward, you carry with you the knowledge that waiting was never wasted and that every season prepared you for this one. You walk now not as someone hoping to arrive, but as someone who has arrived internally and is allowing the external world to catch up. This is the culmination of the journey so far and the beginning of a new cycle where authority guides action and legacy shapes direction. And as everything comes together and settles into a quiet certainty, the conclusion does not arrive as an ending, but as a confirmation, a moment where understanding and experience finally meet. This is where the journey pauses just long enough for you to recognize what has shifted and to acknowledge the depth of what has been fulfilled. You are not standing at the edge of possibility anymore. You are standing within it, and that awareness changes how you breathe, how you move, and how you trust yourself. What you have received is not only what was promised, but what was necessary to support the version of you that emerged through the process. The waiting shaped discernment, the pressure built capacity, and the silence refined your inner voice. Now those elements converge to create stability rather than urgency, and confidence rather than doubt. The confirmation you feel does not need external validation because it is anchored in alignment. You know because you know, and that knowing carries peace. This moment invites you to receive fully, without rushing ahead or clinging to the past. It reminds you that fulfillment is not always loud, but it is always real. You are not being pushed forward. You are being welcomed into a new rhythm where effort and ease coexist and where trust replaces tension. As you step forward from here, carry this awareness with you, letting it guide decisions and ground actions. The journey continues, but it does so from a place of completion rather than lack. You are no longer chasing what is ahead, you are walking with it, and that is the truest sign that the cycle has fulfilled its purpose.